Borderlands 4, without question, is absolutely horrible. It's boring, it's dull, it's buggy, it's a mess. Randy Pitchford is insane, and now we have confirmation that Borderlands 4 is underselling Borderlands 3. Widely considered the worst Borderlands franchise ever. And considering 4 is underselling that currently, what does that tell you? But to be absolutely fair, boys, at the end of the day, I always try to be fair. I always try to be impartial. If Borderlands has anything good about it, I talk about it and I mention it. Because it's not a 100% bad. It's kind of only 95%-ish bad. It's the best shooting that we have had in a Borderlands game ever, without question. But everything else surrounding that is absolutely atrocious. But again, at the end of the day, remember, the world's gonna keep on spinning, the slop eaters are gonna continue enjoying their slop, and the shills are gonna continue shilling. And today, skill up. One of the 3 big YouTube shill players, right there next to Mr. Matty Plays, and everyone's favorite, Luke Steffens. Let's see what he has to say about Border Slop 4.
I've always liked the Borderlands games, especially Borderlands 2, sunk some good time into that one, but Borderlands 4, man, I don't just like this game, I love this game. Over the last week, every free hour I had, I spent playing Borderlands 4. Not in a long time have I so easily been able to play a game for like 12 plus hours straight and still feel just as excited to do it all over again the next day. Ended up putting in about 40 hours over 5 days and thought, okay, I should probably put the game down for a sec and start working on that review. This obsession kinda came as a surprise to me, since many pre-release reviews painted this as just more Borderlands, so I was expecting to enjoy.
Well, yeah, it is just more Borderlands with a worse AI and a worse story.
Enjoy it to the same degree that I enjoyed all the other Borderlands games. I can certainly see where that sentiment comes from. It's more Borderlands in the sense that its distinct art style is of course retained here, only now improved with fancier detail and lighting. It's more Borderlands in the story, but thankfully not in the Borderlands 3 way. The writing is more in line with earlier entries where the jokes only kick in at the right time and place. I think it is.
Borderlands 4 has without question a worse story than 3. I'm being serious, by the way, here. Can anyone who claims to like this game tell me a single thing about the Timekeeper? You know, the main villain? Can anyone tell anything about him? Like, what are his powers? What does he do? What are his motivations? No, you can't. Because he exists for roughly 5 minutes at the start of the game and roughly 10 minutes at the end of the game, but he's completely different and it makes no sense. The story's complete trash. Again, my bet, my money is on the fact that, like, in a year or so, we're gonna have some leaks from the Gearbox Studios about the fact that Borderlands 4 story got rewritten like at least 5 times. Because it looks like it. Every act is just disassociated, a self-contained like mini story that in a lot of cases makes no sense and no real impact on the overall story or anything. It's atrocious.
It is dialed in a touch too far and its characters aren't as developed as they could be, but that more balanced tone alongside some sick encounters and
the characters are not as developed as they should be because by the way, this is rumor. There's no confirmation for this yet, but I heard it and I believe it. So, at the start, Gearbox made all 4 characters black. And then they were like, oh wait, we need a white character. So let's make the Norse Viking who we originally made black at the start white. And I mean, such a strange color that you don't even associate him with white, okay? Remember the initial first trailer reveal of all the characters? None of them looked white. Oh no! And after that, everyone made fun of them and they got Pedro Pascal like there's no tomorrow. Also, by the way, canonically, this dude's gay. Just so you know. Yes. Canonically, yes. Just so you know.
Environments results in the
and yes, keep telling me this game is not woke.
Most enjoyable campaign in the series, I think. It's also more Borderlands in that the game suffers from some of the same issues that all the previous games had. Performance at launch was atrocious, and while it's gotten better with recent patches, it's still not up to par. Similarly, the UI. It sucks.
It has not gotten better at all.
And in some ways, it's actually worse than the previous games, despite Gearbox's efforts to try something different. However, as someone fortunate enough...
This is the same situation, by the way, with Starfield, you know? They literally took the typical Fallout layout for items and picking up stuff, and they made it worse somehow, which is hilarious. I love when a company becomes so inept, they take previously existing systems from their previous titles, and then they make them actively worse. I absolutely love when a company does it. You just know it's over.
Enough to play this game on a high-end PC and can look past the UI annoyances, I was enjoying Borderlands 4 a lot more than I expected, and it was for all the ways in which this is not just more Borderlands. The move from individual levels to a single open world is a natural transition for the Borderlands series. It makes you feel grounded in this universe and facilitates exploration in a way that almost no other...
I have no idea what makes you feel grounded in this universe means.
looter shooter.
Considering we have no idea what this universe is, because this game, by the way, retconned lore. They said that this planet is like a myth and the Vault Hunter's ultimate dream, even though canonically, well, I guess no longer canonically, vaults were literally found like 20-ish years ago. So there's no holy grail for the Vault Hunters. Like, vaults are a completely new thing.
Does. The additions to movement make the combat loop more agile and reactive than ever, to the point
that... this is a lie. This is a blatant lie. In your typical combat, there is absolutely no use for the grappling hook, no actual reason to ever fucking glide, and no reason to pick up and throw containers. This is a flat-out lie. If you ask Skillup how many containers he has tried to blow up or throw on enemies, his answer would be, containers?
That it now feels on par with some of the best shooters on the market. And if you thought the loot...
This is a lie. Even though this is the best shooting Borderlands has ever had, this is still an extreme far cry from how good Destiny's shooting mechanics are, for example.
And buildcraft in Borderlands couldn't get any more crazy.
The buildcraft is absolute garbage. Like, look at this. Look at this. This is your talent tree, by the way. There's some, like, active skills that you can choose, but it's just a choice. This is effectively worse than Diablo 4's skill twig. Look at this. Look at this. This is a great example. Every single thing is going to be the same. Bonus shock damage, 2%. Additional bonus damage, 0.5%. Max stacks, 20. Every single talent point in this game is effectively +1 damage. That's what this is. Sometimes it's +1 shock damage, sometimes it's +1 whatever damage, sometimes it's +1 defense, sometimes it's +1 whatever. But everything you see here, except a couple of these choices, which are garbage, let's be real, because it's just a choice between one or the other. All of these choices are just static buffs.
Man, think again. So the things I already liked about Borderlands are retained here, but it's the meaningful additions layered on top of those things that really sold me. Borderlands is a franchise that's always stood out with its art and buildcraft, but when it comes to moment-to-moment gameplay, it's often struggled to keep pace with the rest of the looter genre. That's no longer the case here in Borderlands 4. Gearbox have really stepped up to the plate and delivered...
Some guns are completely ass. This is one of those guns, for example, that's bad. There are sniper rifles that you can't even use as snipers because their bullets fill your screen up with colors and you can't see the enemy you're trying to shoot. Some guns are just bad. The balance is still atrocious.
Something that isn't just more of the same, but an evolution of the franchise that both meets and in many ways surpasses the competition.
I'm RJ. I'm a Vault Hunter with the Crimson Resistance.
RJ is a great example of how bad the franchise actually is writing-wise. This guy is the first thing you actually meet, and he's insane, okay? His motivations are crystal clear. The reason why he's here makes actually sense. Everything around RJ makes sense. It's just a explained character that makes complete sense. And yet you hate him because he's just so forgettable, boring, and that's pretty much it. That's it. A character that fully functions for once in the whole Borderlands series, and you just hate him because he's so generic and boring.
With the Crimson Resistance.
Most people just looked at her Gazongas instead of listening to her Gazongas.
You are no longer a vault hunter. I have a new use for you.
The closer we get, the more I feel uncertain.
Borderlands 4 is set on the planet Kairos, a prison world once hidden from the rest of the universe until the sudden collision of a moon broke its cloaking shell. It's run by an all-powerful dictator known as the Timekeeper, who uses brain implants to survey and control the population.
Correction, he doesn't actually do that. The guy who has literally had, canonically by the way, more than 1,000 years time to establish a full dominance over the world has not done it. Even though every single person you interact in with this series, including RJ, who's right here off camera, he has a brain implant that allows the Timekeeper to control him at any point. And, well, he doesn't. The Timekeeper literally doesn't have an ability. Why the hell is he called a Timekeeper? Well, someone actually in the comments told me why he's called a Timekeeper. Because he steals your time when you're playing the slop. That's why he's the Timekeeper. Because you're not getting your time you wasted on this game back. But other than that, it's like, you don't know anything about this. The Timekeeper is easily one of the absolute worst AAA villains in the past decade. He doesn't have anything going for him.
You, a vault hunter, find yourself on Kairos in search of a vault, only to be captured and imprisoned, since the chaos we sow is in direct opposition.
This is also a lie. You're not a vault hunter. You're a resistance fighter. At no point the fact that you're a vault hunter plays any role. You're instantaneously from second one a resistance fighter. The game literally starts and you're already an honorary resistance fighter, and as the game progresses, you only do resistance fighter things. The vault is not even a tertiary objective at this point. It's just somewhere on the list of to-do things if we're lucky. You are a resistance fighter, not a vault hunter.
To the Timekeeper's perfect future, but luckily a resistance group breaks you out of there, and you're then compelled to join their cause in liberating the people of Kairos. The story of Borderlands 4 is pretty decent. It's not amazing, but it's nicely paced in that each region has their own sub-story going on, that each follow a clean 3-act structure, and all the plot lines converge in a satisfying way. Your Vault Hunter also talks more.
I have no idea how all of these things convert in a satisfying way. I have absolutely no idea how they convert. They don't. These stories are isolated and they don't convert in any way.
And appears in cutscenes now, which makes them feel like more of an active participant in events. There's actually so much going on here that it can leave characters feeling a little underdeveloped or that their arcs feel a bit rushed. But overall, I enjoyed the story. It's a fun blockbuster adventure.
It's not.
Certainly helps that the tone feels much more balanced this time around. By now,
it's not.
You've likely heard that the writing is far less overbearingly comedic when compared to Borderlands 3.
It still is. It is the same stuff. There's like a 20% gap of the 100% story that actually is kind of decent-ish, because every character is. I have already, by the way, if you haven't seen it, I have done an analysis on every character and how they are in this game. Story-wise, and it's horrible, to say the least. All of the characters are just painful. They're painfully trying too hard, especially Claptrap. Claptrap is, HR is in the room with us, and no matter what happens, you're being reported to HR at the end of the conversation, but the conversation must go on for some reason. Claptrap is atrociously annoying, but instead of millennial stupid humor, you're now like 70s, 80s humor, I have no mouth and I must scream references and things like that. It's really bad.
and I'm pleased to report that that is true. It's felt right away when you meet the Timekeeper in the intro, and it's immediate just how different he is to the Dragon King or the Calypso twins or Handsome Jack. He's even-tempered, he's calculated, not once during the story.
I have no idea where he's getting any of this concept or information from. You completely have no idea who this guy is, or what. Even at the end of the monologue in the effectively tutorial section, the Timekeeper is like, actually, you know what? I don't care about you. I have a brain implant in you, but I'm not gonna use it. Like, he actually, but canonically, he puts the brain chip in you. And he does nothing with it. He does nothing with any of the brain chips. Even though everyone has it. It's stupid. He doesn't do anything. Listen, World of Warcraft's the VOD within expansion has a more nuance and push and, you know, feel than this guy.
Does he crack a joke or quip or laugh maniacally? He's got this very quiet confidence about him, and I suspect that's in direct response to the criticisms made toward the writing of Borderlands 3. While that does give the Timekeeper an intimidating presence, him being so
he has absolutely no intimidating presence. This is the he barely speaks. When I say barely, he's again dead at the start and at the end of the game. That's it. He doesn't appear anywhere else.
Singular in his goals does also make him a little predictable. Like, part of what made Handsome Jack such a fun villain was just how utterly unhinged he was. You never really knew what he'd do next or what boundaries he'd cross. The Timekeeper falls a little flat by comparison, but I guess comparing any villain to Handsome Jack is a tall order. He does take more of a back seat though, as much of the story sees you taking on his 3 commanders, and they do exhibit the kind of deranged behavior you'd expect from a Borderlands villain. Even then though, your interactions aren't filled with overly quippy, profanity-spewing nonsense. The humor is meted out in such a way that it doesn't undercut the morbid or earnest moments. I'd say that's especially true in the side quests, which were honestly such a pleasant surprise.
Wait. I'm sorry. Is he trying to say that, for example, this guy's not the... This guy's whole existence is a joke. He's literally a simp. And I'm not kidding. He literally is. If you have seen even a single line of dialogue from this guy, you know he's a simp. Like, for example, this is a blatant lie, okay? This guy just is stupid and a simp. That's his whole personality.
From a Borderlands villain. Even then though, nonsense, the humor is meted out in such a way that it doesn't undercut the morbid or earnest moments.
The humor is like that. When you see any encounter with this guy, he constantly is stupid. He constantly fails to do something. He constantly is a simp for the Timekeeper.
I'd say that's especially true in the side quests, which were honestly such a pleasant surprise for me. Maybe it's because the bar is so low, it's at the bottom of the Mariana Trench when it comes to side quests in looter shooters. But yeah, I found myself doing every side quest I came across just because they're well-written stories. Perhaps the best example is this one with Claptrap, a character who many perceive as the most annoying in the franchise. He had this quest where we're going around collecting items from his time on Pandora, all the while he's yapping on and on about his past adventures, about how nobody's ever liked him, and so after collecting all his stuff, we're kind of like, hey man, maybe it's time to move on and start anew. Yeah, he has the expected sarcastic response initially, but he comes around, we blow up his stuff in a little ceremony, and he says this.
Thanks, Rafa. You're a good friend. You're a good friend.
That's...
I'm sorry, was I supposed to like that? Or anything? I'm sorry, is that... If that all it takes for you to be happy, or think that's fucking deep, Jesus.
The end of the quest line. There's no punchline, just a nice introspective moment. Because yeah, Borderlands 4 doesn't care to make a joke out of everything. Again, that's not to say the humor isn't there though, it's just less overt here in Borderlands 4. Like in this quest line where I was helping a mob boss with his dealings, and throughout it, my character, Rafa, slowly develops an accent to really immerse himself in the job.
Hey, yo, boss. I don't see any way into this place. Son of a bitch! They've got guards on the goods. Got the crate of parts, but the damn thing's locked.
So yeah, writing across the board is great, I think. There's a nice balance of humor and...
I mean, if you like that, I mean, it's cheap and dumb.
nice quiet moments. Definitely more in line with
Too bad the game's not cheap.
Borderlands 1 and 2. However, without the regular presence of someone like Handsome Jack or Claptrap, it does kind of feel like there's something missing. There is some of that over-the-top crass humor, but it's quite sparse, which can often make Borderlands 4 feel like it's a little more Guardians of the Galaxy than it is Borderlands. I did find myself yearning for a little bit more of that signature Borderlands edge, particularly in the main story, but yeah, it is a small gripe. Overall, I'm glad we steered away from Borderlands 3's writing. What really sets this campaign experience apart, though, is the shift to a full open world, as opposed to the smaller, separate levels of previous entries. Some may lament that the previous mission structure allowed for more biome diversity, tighter arena design, and less padding. However, I was really into this open world. I think the trade-offs were worth it. Like, when I saw the reveal of Destiny 1,
Well, to be fair, open worlds are typically always better than not, even though Borderlands 4 open world leaves a lot to be asked, but I mean, an open world is still better than a non-open world.
I was excited by the prospect of having a big, seamless alien world that I could cruise around with my friends and stumble into all manner of interesting side quests and dungeons along the way. Obviously, that's not really how things played out, and the Destiny franchise has only gotten more theme parky over time, and that's fine, but I've always yearned for a looter shooter that might deliver that exploration experience. Then along comes Borderlands 4, which has given me that very thing.
By the way, this is what I was saying at the start before the game actually came out, that the whole world is bad because they added, scooters, effectively. And as you can see it right here. Look at this. Look at this.
Then along comes Borderlands 4, which is...
There's nothing to see, there's nothing to interact. This is just you wasting time until you get to the objective. If you squash the world between objectives, I think it would not be even 1/7 of what it is on the map.
Given me that very...
Because this is a lot of the game. Nothing's happening. I mean, you're just going there and there's nothing to look forward or anything. There's just a quest marker. There's just a marker in general. And you're just looking at the number go down as you just go in because there's nothing else.
Thing. It's got a decently sized, seamless world, brimming with faction shootouts, world boss events, hidden dungeons, and side quests. The final region also has a cool Metroidvania approach to it as well, where certain side quests will unlock new ways to explore it. It's not a groundbreaking open world, but it certainly offers a more dynamic exploration experience than any other Borderlands game. More than that, I think it fundamentally changes the way it feels to play Borderlands. Without individual levels that you're loading into from a menu, you're less narrowly focused on completing a specific objective. So you end up following your nose. On your way to your next main objective, you might chance upon an elaborate cave system that leads to a cool boss fight, or a side quest that's a scavenger hunt that leads to a mythical legendary vending machine. That's one of the biggest reasons I found myself losing so many hours in this game. Without being booted out to a central hub or a lobby, you can kind of just exist and lose yourself in the world in a way that almost no other looter shooter allows for, aside from maybe the Division.
By the way, does anyone know or have heard or have seen anyone play the Riri Williams character?
It was a necessary change, I think, given the level-based structure is feeling a bit dated now, but it's also a natural fit for this franchise. Prior games were already trying to get you to explore a bit, they had you driving around in vehicles, but it was all very hamstrung by the restricted level design. Here, it feels like Borderlands is finally unburdened by its dated structure, allowing you to spread your wings and better immerse yourself in the life of a Vault Hunter.
So, addressing the elephant in the room, performance. First, I'll preface by saying that I think Borderlands 4 is a great looking video game. I've always really loved its distinctive comic.
Well, it's better than it was previously because it's been years since most people are of agreement that, well, it's not looking good, okay? When Borderlands first came out, the art style was appreciative, but nowadays, I mean, yeah, this is not enough, okay? Maybe it's time to actually drastically change the art style, at least a little bit more realism, I guess. Because clearly they're already going in that direction with the cell shading.
booky, cel-shaded look, and it looks better than ever here in Unreal Engine 5. Some may disagree, but I think it's a noticeable step up from Borderlands 3. The foliage is thicker, rocks and cliff faces are defined by actual geometry rather than drawn on textures, and the updated volumetric lighting gives spaces far more depth, especially internal spaces. Some of the set-piece moments and environments in later parts of the game too are just especially incredible, like honestly rivaling some of the coolest areas in Destiny 2, I think. All that said, it does not look good enough to warrant how awfully it runs. While patches have rolled through over the last week to stabilize
Hey, at least he said it. At least he said it, boys.
things, it's still nowhere near where it needs to be. On an RTX 4080 Super, my game averages about 70 to 80 FPS in open areas, often dipping down to 60 FPS and getting hit with the occasional stutter. That's at 1440p with DLSS set to balanced on very high settings, so not even maxed out, mind you. No matter what rig you're playing on, by the way, the cutscenes are locked to 30 FPS, and that feels particularly awful during the many first-person cutscenes. Thing is, even on the best gaming PC that money can buy, you still can't hold a steady frame rate. Digital Foundry has a great breakdown on this. We're on an RTX 5090 at max settings, 4K, DLSS.
Yes, we know. The game runs horribly, and Randy Pitchford said remove fog, which is not actually a real option, but that's okay.
It didn't drag down my experience really, since a minimum 60 FPS on a 60Hz monitor is smooth enough for me, but again, I'm playing on a pretty powerful rig. I imagine that those looking to play Borderlands 4 on even the recommended specs will still likely have to fiddle around a lot with settings and AI upscaling to get it running at a stable frame rate. So yeah, that sucks. Unfortunately, what also sucks...
And by the way, if that's a problem to you, refund. Just refund it. No one can... there's nothing wrong with refunding something that blatantly doesn't work because the people making it are morons.
Is the UI. I mean, let's start with how it looks. I think it looks pretty lame. UI was never a...
It looks generic. It doesn't look that bad, honestly.
Strength of Borderlands games, but at least it had character. Now it's all charmless, full-screen menus akin to Destiny or any other live...
Well, that's because they wanted to make it so, you know, controller people are gonna have fun with it.
Service game. I'm glad that after all these years, Gearbox have finally tried to make some significant changes to the UI, but I'm not a fan of the direction they went. What bugs me more, though, is just how dysfunctional it is. Like, it's somehow worse than any other Borderlands game. Why is a basic thing like currency hidden in an icon you need to hover over? Why are weapons sorted by manufacturer by default, when that's like the most useless way to categorize them? And why does my sorting reset to that every time I move to another menu? Why do shaders have no sorting at all? Why, when comparing a weapon on the ground to the one in my hand, does it only show basic stats and not the perks? And that's not even everything I've written down in my notes. The amount of weird stuff here is genuinely baffling. The UI isn't just lacking in its design, by the way, it's also slow and buggy. Sometimes it takes ages for looted or purchased items to appear in your inventory. When trying to mark items as junk in the backpack menu, sometimes it'll just mark the item 2 rows above instead.
It is disappointing to see Gearbox still having problems with optimization and UI, considering they've been working on this franchise for over a decade and a half. I do think patches will eventually iron out most of those issues though, and I look forward to the day that everyone can play this game in its best possible state, because the core of Borderlands, the looting and the shooting, is absolutely top-notch in Borderlands 4.
I'm sorry, but this doesn't actually look that impressive, though.
So the writing is decent, exploration is great, but the most important thing about a Borderlands game is the power fantasy, and on that front, Borderlands 4 has cranked things up to 11. What's had the most profound impact on gameplay are the added movement tools. Borderlands 3 added a slide and clamber, which was nice.
He can't... He takes the throwable, misses because it's useless as a mechanic, and then he misses all his shots on this guy.
But on top of that, you've now also got a dash, a double jump, a jetpack glide, a ground slam, and a grapple hook.
Yes, from which all are useless.
which sadly can only be used on specific grapple points, but it's still handy in a pinch. These new movement tools make Borderlands combat loop so much more agile and frenetic and just plain fun than it's ever been. Like, you're basically a
I mean, it's nice that they have it. That's the point of this. It's good that they have it, in fact, right? Because obviously these are good things. But the problem is the gameplay just doesn't require you to do any of it. In fact, the gameplay doesn't allow you to do any of it. Like, the glide mechanic is useless, literally, in combat. Like, if you find a way to use it, congratulations. That's like 1 in a million. But it's useless.
Destiny Hunter, Warlock, and Titan all rolled into one. It's awesome. You feel like such a badass when you're chaining all this together, and it completely elevates the power fantasy that Borderlands has always been known for. It's also allowed Gearbox to get a little more funky with enemy and encounter design, which too has felt dated for a while now. Many enemies, especially bosses, can fire out attacks that you'll need to jump over or dash to avoid, and the telegraphs for these are pretty damn fast.
By the way, look at this. There's your whole screen is just full of this. That's insane.
To account for how mobile you are. There are scenarios that involve you having to lob caustic bombs to burn away armor, or use your grapple to pull things, or ground slam machinery to disable them. Gearbox could definitely push these ideas further, but it's a good start for a game that's historically only ever been about shooting things. Speaking of shooting things though, the gunplay in Borderlands 3 was already a big improvement over Borderlands 2, but it's even better here in 4, where punchy sound design and weighty animations make shooting psychos in the face feel more cathartic than ever.
Does not feel impactful in the slightest, not gonna lie.
But what makes the gunplay even more interesting are the changes to the guns themselves. Borderlands guns have always been pretty wild. They roll with some wacky perk related to their manufacturer, combined with random stat boosts and attachments, resulting in near endless combinations. The coolest guns were often the legendaries though, hence why they dropped like candy in Borderlands 3, and that kind of stifled the loot chase and build variety. In Borderlands 4 though, legendaries are a lot more rare, and non-legendary loot is now just as interesting, sometimes more so. So in Borderlands 4, you don't just have one whack.
By the way, that is objectively a design failure, which most likely is gonna get fixed in the future, because people are gonna complain about the fact that legendaries are not the best guns. Like, why have legendaries if they're not gonna be the best stuff? Like, what's the point of categorization for quality or rarity if it's not gonna be the best stuff? Like, how does that make sense? How does it make sense that a white pistol 20 levels below a legendary is actually 10 times stronger than a legendary? It's gonna get fixed. You are gonna get set back on the grind legendaries roller coaster. This is without question. Because if legendaries are not used, that means that they either need a buff or everything else needs to be nerfed. Probably everything else needs to be nerfed, because that would be the worst choice, and Gearbox is doing all the worst choices. Not to mention the battle pass that's going to be in the future and how pay to win that is going to be. Well, not pay to win, but it's going to be, well, you can't play the game without buying it. It's going to nickel and dime you pretty hard. And, well, I mean, that's it. I'm getting tired of this. That was Skill Up. 10 out of 10. Bye.